Danny, it's an absolute pleasure to have you and to chat to you here while we're at Next World Forum. Firstly, I want to kind of give you the opportunity to explain VSPO and the company as a whole. So, give me a little bit of an elevator pitch on VSPO and its significance as well in the Chinese market.
So VSPO stands for Versus Player One. We're an esports company based out of China, and we're the largest esports company in China right now, one of the largest in Asia. And we've been operating in the past since 2016. We founded the company back in 2016, and since then it's been a very exciting journey of participating and also observing the rapid growth of esports in China to go from a niche sports to being now part of the pop culture. We pride ourselves in becoming in being the total solution provider for esports, meaning that if you want to build, if anyone, a game company, a platform, want to build an esports ecosystem in China, we can provide the service. We can help you to do that. The main pillars of our business, we have three main pillars of business. One, of course, is esports operation, because that's the pillar of everything. We want to make sure we're providing the best experiences and contents for our fans, both online and offline. So, of course, that's the foundational layer of our business. On top of that, the second layer is the commercialization, is where through sponsorships, through media rights, we bring in partners from outside of the gaming and esports world to invite them to be a part of it, and then they share with us the kind of the vision for the future. At the same time, they utilize the esports content as a way to tap into that young audience who play games. And then the third part of our business is talent management. So think about it as KOLs, influencer management. And we are one of the largest managers of gaming, esports, and lifestyle-related creators in China. So we see that as a very crucial part of the esports content universe as well. Yeah.
No, perfect. And in terms of tournament organization in particular, are you able to detail some of the current leagues that you are running in China especially?
Yeah, well, that would be a very long list. We operate of the top 10 esports titles in China, we operate 9 out of 10. So basically any esports titles that you might have heard of in China, we're a part of that. So either operating that, providing the commercialization service for that, or partnering with them in some form or another.
Perfect. So the reason why I really want to speak to you is because I think there's a lot of, especially from the Western market, there's a lot of China is big, China is huge, China is the go-to place, but yet it's hard to kind of find that information actually directly from the source. And I thought you were the perfect person to speak to about that. So how big is China as a developing market, especially from a business standpoint as well?
Yeah. We've been very fortunate in that over the past years, about 8 years of our existence, we've really witnessed how esports in China turned from a niche sport to now part of the pop culture. And that's driven by a number of factors, right? One, I think the gaming industry, let's talk about the foundation for a second. Like the foundation for esports, obviously, is the gaming industry. And the gaming industry operates slightly differently in China, in that the business model of gaming, of how game companies make money, is slightly different. Not everywhere is around the same, but back in the days, I think Chinese gaming companies are probably the first to adapt the freemium model, meaning that instead of paying for a copy of the game, the premium model, you get the games for free. You download the games for free, and then you play. You buy the in-app purchases, and that's how game companies make money. So in that business model, the game companies have a huge incentive to try to maintain the community engaged, to try to build and invest in that user retention experience. So that's when esports come to play, and we've seen that played out, and we've seen that being the sort of the initial kicker when we started the mobile esports industry in China. And then the second factor to note is that in China, what we've seen is the mobile esports is really, really popular. The fact that gamers in China kind of skipped the whole generation of PC and console esports and gaming and went directly into mobile gaming is super helpful when it comes to creating esports ecosystems. Because by playing games on mobile, the games become a lot more accessible. So you can play it anytime, anywhere. And the second is because the game companies have to migrate their contents from wherever PC previously to the mobile contents. They actually have to cater to the the tech specs of the devices as well. So they have to make the games easy to understand, easy to follow. And third, we just talked about the business model, right? So the games are free to play, and you can also just exit anytime. So in order to retain, acquire as many users as possible, to retain as much users as possible, the game companies have to make the games accessible for everyone. So meaning you lower the entry barriers. You don't have to be a hardcore gamer in order to enjoy. They have to make it super accessible to casual gamers as well, make it appealing for female gamers as well. So there is not that strong sense of we're a closed club of hardcore gamers. Rather, this is more of a very welcoming gesture of everybody, please come and enjoy it on our platform. So I think that enabled a huge influx of gamers onto mobile. So they become new gamers. Now with that huge population of gamers as a basis, it's a lot easier. It actually becomes very natural for esports to emerge with a very solid footing as part of the pop culture. And then just once you provide this community, once you serve this community with great content, with excellent experiences, both online and offline, then the community will respond, and the community will help you to grow, and then the whole industry grows as well.
How did the culture shift happen then in China? Because I feel like in the West we're starting to see it a little bit, but
Right.
just to put it into perspective, I'm guessing a lot of these are treated as like film stars and superstars sometimes with the athletes in China, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Like how did that culture shift happen?
That did happen. What you were describing is kind of like the idolization of esports athletes in China. There are fan clubs, it's just like Korean boy bands, right? Like everywhere you go, whenever there's a tournament, there are fans screaming and holding billboards outside. And that happened because, as I was saying, the foundation of the esports ecosystem is a much larger group of gamers than just the hardcore male fans. So I think the fact that we have a high percentage of gamers who are female really contributed to that. I think female gamers, we tend to be more vocal about our preferences. We tend to be more loyal and supportive, and then also it's a more social experience when you have female fans going to tournaments, and they tend to introduce different athletes to their friends and bring them along because it's such a great experience. So I think as a result of having that wider experience, wider audience, as a result of having female audience being a crucial part of the audience base, we're seeing a lot of the superstarization, for lack of a better word, of the esports athletes. So they're definitely idolized.
It definitely feels like it's a lot more social.
Yes.
Is it more of a we're gonna go, instead of like go and watch like a football game or go and watch a film? It's like we'll go to watch an esports event, and you have like a group of fans. Is that a correct statement to say?
Yeah, that's very much correct. It's very much like going to, hey, we're gonna go catch a movie together. Hey, we're gonna go catch a KPL together, and then the diversity of the availability of diverse contents in esports space also helps, right? So it's not just the super hardcore, fierce competitions on stage. Those are definitely important, but also there are the day-to-day other forms of contents available around those, around the athletes, around the tournaments themselves, around the game contents. We see reality shows, we see chick flicks, we see short videos and streaming. So I think the increasing diversity of the fan base really help to kind of provide the fertile ground for the different diverse contents to thrive as well. And that, of course, come back to invite more fans to be part of the ecosystem, and then they want to enjoy more contents. Once they build that affiliation with a certain team through various channels, various contents, they want to go and support their team. They want to go and hang out with their friends. They want to go and then support the athlete that they really like.
I guess I might be outing myself then a little bit in this sense, but especially like you said, mentioned TV. It just reminded me now there are TV shows that are romance comedies about an esports gamer, and it's not like a niche thing. It's just a common.
It's very popular. And there's not just one, there are a number that I can name off the top of my head. And I mean, it's very natural, right? Because esports is, when it becomes a way of life, there are stories evolved around it. People fall in love with people who play other esports titles, right? And the content gets weaved into the storylines as well. romance comedies for sure, because again, I was mentioning the female gamers as a major consumer of the different contents, so that definitely caters to that crowd. And we've got sci-fi esports related TV shows as well, the time travel that's based on a crossfire. So yeah, we've seen that. I think the market has gotten to where it is today. Esports has gotten to where it is, like the status of being part of the pop culture because of the ability of all the different contents.
It's really interesting that you're highlighting women gamers and the ecosystem there, and it's really good to see that there is that community which is starting to be built over there, and it's a community that still needs to be really utilised and built in the Western world as well. What do you think are some things that can be done to make it more accessible for female gamers and for women gamers?
I mean, I talk about it, but I also don't like talk about it because I feel like female gamers are just gamers. We're all just gamers. We're all enjoying the game, playing the game, and we compete based on skill. There shouldn't be a division of gender to say you're a female gamer, you're a male gamer. It's weird. It's kind of saying you're a male student, you're a female student. Why emphasize on that? But I do feel the need to talk about it because it's like I realize it's probably like in China we don't feel it's an issue, right? But outside of China, like you mentioned, in some of the certain Western markets, it's still not accepted. Maybe it's not. Female gamers are not welcomed in communities, and female gamers are not frequently seen in events and tournaments. There are some, of course, historical reasons for that I've come to learn. But I realize that it's important to talk about it, to highlight it, to let people know that hey, women do like playing games. We like watching esports tournaments, and it is possible to have an ecosystem, to have a very vibrant ecosystem that is open and acceptable and welcoming for every gamer, not just the female gamer, not just the male gamer. Now, to come back to your question about how to cater to, how do we encourage that? One is really for game developers is when you are developing the game titles, have it in your mind that this is a game title that your daughter might play as well. So if you keep that mentality in mind. Don't create grounds for toxic behaviors. That's one. And then second is when we're creating content as esports content creators and tournament operators, hire more women. So that's a very easy solution. Half of our producer bases are actually excellent female producers. So when they produce content, we don't tell them, hey, you need to create this tournament for women or for female audiences. No, we just allow them to shine, allow them to use their talent whichever way, because naturally in their mind, they don't have those biased thinkings to start with. So when they create contents that they like, it will appeal to female gamers, it will appeal to male gamers. So, yeah.
No, like you said, it's just to appeal to everybody, isn't it? It's to make sure that it is as inclusive as it can be. In terms of then the mobile market, which you mentioned as well, that I think it's another market that I think is very misunderstood, I would say, in the Western world. But as you mentioned, there's a Peacekeeper Elite League, which is your franchise league for a mobile title, which is PUBG here, PUBG Mobile here. How big is the mobile industry, and do you think it'll get even bigger when it comes to esports? Not even just in China, but when you see it kind of go into the Western world a little bit.
Of course, we're absolutely convinced that mobile is going to change how esports turns out. Not just in China. I mean, we've seen that happening in China already, but also in other different parts of the world. I mean, the nature of mobile gaming makes it more accessible, makes the games more reachable for a much wider audience, and that will change that will change the foundation for the ecosystem of the gaming community, as well as for the ecosystem of esports as well. And it's just, think about the different types of gamers around the world in different regions. It's not just China, it's not just US and Europe, right? We have markets in Africa, we have markets in Southeast Asia, we have markets in India, we have markets in different parts of the world. And I do see mobile as a new medium, mobile devices as a much better medium to bring everybody together and connect everybody.
As a final question then, it's been a pleasure chatting with you as well. we're at Next World Forum, so I do kind of have a little bit of a play on the word next. Like for you, what is the next big esports development then?
We are really looking forward to seeing an esports title or several esports titles or tournaments that can really elevate esports ecosystems to a global scale. So we want to see what we've seen in China and other parts of the world. We want to see high percentage of female fans and participants in other parts of the world. That will happen. It's like you said, it's next. It's not yet, but that's what's coming next.
Perfect. Thank you so much for speaking to me, and yeah, hopefully you've had a lovely time here as well.
Thank you. Great questions.
Thank you.